Welcome back for another episode with the Fitness Business Podcast. Today's going to be a fun episode. I have fitness talent expert and owner of Mace, which is a fitness production company. I have Mason Bendewald with me today. Mason, thank you so much for joining me on the Fitness Business Podcast.
I'm excited to be here, Dory.
Yes, we've been trying to get you on for a while. You're finally here. I know you're such a busy guy, so thanks for taking time out of your day.
It's a real pleasure, truly.
I love our topic today, which is using video to tell a story because it's so relatable to all of our hardworking fitness professionals out there. You know, obviously, since COVID, everybody has had to kind of shift gears. And some of our fitness listeners out there have really stuck to the whole video online fitness channel. So they're probably just going to love to hear what you have to say. Your resume, absolutely amazing. So listen, before we talk about videoing and storytelling, I would just love for you to just tell us a little bit about, your journey. You've worked with, some of the brands like Beachbody, Tonal, iFit. So I'm sure you have lots of stories to tell us. So take it away.
Oh my gosh. More stories than we can do in one little podcast. But I like to go back and say, and share that I went to the High School of Performing Arts as a teenager. This is in New York City in the 80s. And I was an actor and a dancer. And I realized that I was very lucky. I had these other talents that most actors don't have, which is seeing the big picture, and ultimately ended up producing and directing theater. And then that led me to saying, oh, if I really want to make a living and stay in this industry, which was my passion, I was like, I need to move on to film and video. Went back to school for that. And fast forward, I have this opportunity to direct a fitness video. And at the time I was like, a fitness video is like directing a wedding video. And I was not very excited about it, but it was work. And so I took on this challenge. Beachbody was the company producing Beachbody was a company producing this new workout called P90X, and it was going to be an extreme home workout. And the CEO and I were friends. And I said, hey, I want to do this completely different. At the time, if you go back in your mind, Jane Fonda and Billy Blanks were like the big guys on the scene. But things were very basic still. Like everything was in a sense cookie cutter. And I took this opportunity because I was not invested in fitness to do it all differently. And what my main goal was to just be entertaining. And so everything I learned from those days, and this is 2000, late 2003 when I directed it, became big by 2006, was that if you entertain people, this is back before, excuse me, I'll back up.
Yep.
So what I learned from P90X was if you entertain people and can keep their attention, they're going to get results because they keep coming back. This was before streaming. There was only 13 workouts in essence. They were long, but it was only 13 workouts. And people kept doing them again and again and again and again. And what I learned by talking to fans of the brand was that they're like, yeah, we just love what's going on. It's like you're not thinking about the fitness, you're thinking about the different personalities and Tony, who's the head trainer, being funny. And so I took Tony's creativity and his natural presence of wanting to be on camera, but I created an environment for him. I changed how the cameras worked. I used real people who had been through test groups. And so here's one fun story. This is back when warm-ups were very long, and the head trainer, Tony, wanted to warm up our rotator cuffs. And so he'd hang over, and it was as if you were stirring a big pot of soup. And he wanted to do it 30 seconds in each directions, both sides. That's 2 minutes. That's usually the entire warm-up today. Well, Tony demanded that we do this. So I went around and said to all the backup players, when Tony comes up, I'm going to have him ask you what kind of soup you have. Nobody can repeat the same soup. And so everybody's, okay, all right, great, come up. up with something. So Tony comes up. He's like, all right, Dory, what kind of soup are you stirring there? And you're like, oh, my grandma's chicken noodle soup from Delaware. You're like, oh, I love chicken noodle soup. And go to somebody else and it's like, I got navy bean. Oh, navy beans, great. It's good protein for you. It's like, yeah, that's something to talk about. And he walks up. We had this one little, she was ripped, this German gal, heavy German accent. And he walks up to her and, Beta, what kind of soup are you stirring? She goes, German potato soup. And Tony, I don't know what it was. It struck a funny bone. And he starts laughing and repeating it. And he goes, German potato soup. I love German potato soup. Next thing you know, everybody's just doing this basic swinging of the arm that most trainers would be sitting there going, okay, we're warming up your rotator cuff and we want to make sure that we're doing it. And all they'd be talking about is kind of the mundane. And we were talking about something that was just fun. And that is, in essence, what I have been doing for the last 20 years is helping trainers create fun and connection with their audience.
Well, we are so, hold on. Sorry, you caught me off guard there. I thought you were going to go a little longer.
I was trying to give you an ending. You want me to say it again or no, you can pick it up from there, right?
All right. The bullet point where it says, I'm sure they didn't go all as planned. Is that kind of the story or do you have something else you want to share?
There's plenty of things that didn't go as planned if you want.
Okay.
You want an example of something that went bad on set or something, you mean?
No, let's move on because I just feel like we've got a lot here.
Oh, there's tons.
It's going to be so great. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that was a really good story. A perfect way to kind of move out of that rotator cuff, boring, mundane exercise for 2 solid minutes. I love that. So why should trainers tell their story? You're here today, you're talking about using video to tell your story. Why should they be using the video to tell their story?
Well, if you've said this before, so many trainers have moved online. And the reason why the internet's so powerful is because you can reach so many more people and you can make a lot more money. I mean, it's that simple and that's important. Most trainers love helping people. They want to reach more of them and they'd like to make more money. Because if you're a trainer and you just go into the gym, the expression trading your hours for dollars, it's great when you're younger. But if you want to stay in the business, just like I went from acting to directing and from theater to film, it's the same thing. If you want to have a way to stay in the industry, you really need to look at the bigger picture. And so being online, whether that's what you do full time, or you also have brick and mortar and you're splitting your time, it is a component that is not going away. And telling stories is how we communicate 65% of our information in the day. You just think about calling up a friend or talking to an acquaintance. It's all storytelling. Dory, how was your day? Oh my gosh, Mason, you're not going to believe it. I was running late and then I bumped into and da da da. It's a story. It's not just my day is good. I picked up groceries. I came home. It's a story. There's always something in there because our brains are wired in a way that when you're telling a story, the listener feels as if they were there. It's a very, very powerful tool for marketing, for capturing somebody's attention. And if you think of any big star today, they have figured out how to use social media in a way that makes you feel closer to them. In the real old days, movie stars, it was almost the opposite. We wanted them to feel as if they were untouchable and perfect and elevated. And now the big winners, I think of Dwayne Johnson, one of probably the biggest star on the planet at the moment. His social media makes you feel like you're his close friend. It's that simple. He talks about his daughters. He's the father of three girls. He'll have tea time with the youngest. He'll post photos of himself awkward high school days with a weird haircut and a white fanny pack on backwards. And it just makes you go, hey, that's a guy I can relate to, even though he's like this atlas of a man who you almost feel like there's no way I could ever, there isn't, obtain his physicalness or his height of success. But you feel as if you're close to him because of the way he expresses himself in storytelling.
So you're talking about the celebrities and their way of telling a story. But if I had to ask you, when it comes to our trainers and when it comes to our Group X instructors that are listening, that are doing the video, what do you feel is the best things, items that they can include in their video?
That's a great question. And it is a skill. Let me say that first and foremost. It's not like, oh, right, tell stories. Even learning how to smile on camera is a skill that is learnable, and having a great intro and a great killer close. There's all these systems and skills that I have worked on for years, coming up with lessons. So storytelling is one of the best and one of the hardest to master. But I'd love to do an example with you if you would be so kind to indulge us.
Okay. Gosh, you
So,
never know what story you're going to get from me. We call it Dory stories, but go
Dory
ahead.
story. I love it. So I would ask you to share with me, I mean, as if it's just me, but of course we have listeners here. Could you share something that was challenging, that was painful, something in your life where it was a gut punch. It was something that made you reevaluate. You learned something from it. It was challenging, something that you normally wouldn't share. And that I'm asking a lot. I realize what I'm asking of you. And it's a short version, not the long version. I'll show you what we can do with it.
I like the funny stories better, but okay, let's see
Well,
here.
those have a lot of merit too. So you can pick either one. The hardest ones are usually the most impactful, and you'll see why.
Okay, so we'll go with a challenging story. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to rewind. 24 years old, married for a year, decide to start a family. I become pregnant pretty easily, super excited. Again, I'm going to stress 24 years old.
Big moment in anybody's life.
Still just, a young kid when I look back
24
now.
is young. Yes.
God, 24. Find out we're pregnant, do the typical doctor visits. And we go to probably about maybe 4 months, the 4-month visit. And they do the ultrasound, and you can tell that they're concerned that something's not right. So long story short, there wasn't something right. And they were finding abnormalities in my pregnancy. So I'd have to keep going back for more ultrasounds. And as I got into about my 6th month, they did break the news to me that the pregnancy was not going well at all. The baby wasn't growing. And that probably I was either going to have to, at some point, the baby was going to pass during the terms, or the child, possibly if the child could make it, would be born with severe disabilities. But they started preparing me for it, going to genetic counseling. I went to see a lot of specialists at the time in Philadelphia. And long story short, the child did not make it at about 8 months. They had to go in and remove the child because the baby just didn't make it. So
that's a very hard, traumatic for anybody to lose a child.
It
and
was.
How did you feel at that time?
I was devastated, very devastated. Fortunately, my mom was close by, so she was a great support for me. But the thing that really had us bothered was we just didn't know why it happened. The doctors couldn't seem to figure out why it happened. So we weren't sure if this was a genetic issue and was this going to happen again, or was it a fluke? And that was kind of always the big question, of which they could never answer. But the outcome was I have now 2 beautiful children, and I'm very blessed and very grateful that we think it was just a fluke.
And how did that affect you once you had that event happen in your life? what, like in the following, it could have been months or year, like how did that affect your day to day? What went on in your head? How did you pull yourself up from that event and move forward?
Yeah, it was tough because, I worked full time and I was at that age and in the environment where there were a couple of other girls that I worked with that were expecting at the same time, which,
Mm,
when I went back to work after, went through all the procedures and the healing, that was really, really hard for me
wow.
because I'd go and then they'd end up having their babies and they'd bring them into work. And, you want to be I wanted to be very happy for them,
Sure.
and try not to be bitter. But I just kind of held on to the hope that I had a wonderful doctor that kept saying he was like, let's try again. Come on, keep going. And I had great support from my husband and my mom. But it was challenging, but
Okay.
one
So this is, first of all, thank you so much. That is a very, like, it's making me emotional just thinking about losing a child.
Mhm.
But I want to say you're, of course, not alone. Like it is in fact incredibly common for first pregnancies to not make it. It's a very normal thing. We talk about it more. But anyway, let me pretend for a second for our listeners here that I'm Dory, the trainer, and I will give you a rough version of how you could turn that into an actual story on camera. So here's the other thing. I mean, you could do this in group X, but the trickiest thing moving from studio to camera is that when you're in a studio, you've got music and an audience that's giving you feedback and energy, and you're looking at people and you can hear and feel what's going on. When you're on camera by yourself presenting, all that goes away. You have no music, you have no audience. So you have to create a different type of energy and entertainment. And again, storytelling connects us deeply. I feel more connected to you now from that story, certainly than I did when we were just talking about real estate or fitness. So here we go. Here's a rough example of you teaching on camera and sharing the story. Hi, I'm Dory. Welcome to our workout today. Today's going to be more of a meditative flow. I'm just in that mood. It was never meant to be a high intensity workout day. As you know, this is a recovery day. So take a big, deep breath with me. And while we're getting into our just moment here, I had a thought and something that I want to share. It's really tough, but it's a really valuable lesson too. Let's just close our eyes and sit here together for a second. Breathe. When I was very young, one of the hardest things that I've ever went through happened to me. I was newly married and I'd just gotten pregnant, and I could not have been more thrilled. Okay, we're going to go into our sun salutations now. Let's go. And imagine we are going through these sun salutations, and I'm cueing some of the most important cues of that. And I might come to another resting position and then continue this story a little bit. Early on, we found out that the pregnancy was challenging, but I stayed really positive. I had incredible support from my husband and great doctors, and we kept moving forward. I was working full time, but life was just, everything was happening in front of me. And I had the benefit of youth, and I was just thrilled about everything in my future. All right, let's go into a deep fold. Hang here, drop your arms, let your head go. And imagine I'm cueing more yoga moves. And then I continue with this story. And I'm going to jump towards the end now. So we already know that the child hasn't made it. So this was one of the most challenging times in my life. I really didn't, it was hard to get up and go to work, especially because I have colleagues there that they're celebrating births of their children. I wanted to be happy for them, but I had this sense inside that I just really wasn't thrilled with where I was at, and things weren't working out the way I expected them to. But I just kept getting up and putting one foot in front of the other, just like we're doing with this yoga class right now. And I realized, one more big inhale with me, huge, biggest sun salutation of our day, that if you keep getting up and you keep facing your day and you've got good people around you, you can conquer anything. And today I have two beautiful children. My life is great. And I wish you the same. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. I'm Dory. We'll see you tomorrow. So that's a rough version of, imagine it's a half an hour class and you're taking, there's a hook, there's a development of the story, and then there is a finisher, a close, a moral of the story. This could, you had said you like telling funny stories. Funny stories, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are great too. But the hardest stories to tell are the ones I like trainers to start with, because if you can tell a tough story that makes me feel good in the end, oh my gosh, that's where I get more connected. Fun stories are fun, and they should be. But once in a while, telling a heartfelt story of something that has changed you, challenged you, that you've gotten through, people love rooting for that, and people connect because everybody struggles. And so that's why I like that. And it's a metaphor for fitness too, because nobody loves doing fitness, but the more you do it and you have breakthrough moments, it really ties in nicely.
I
So
agree.
thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so
Truly.
welcome. I appreciate that. So I love all of your advice. I love everything there that you had to say. I clearly saw the picture. I saw how the video went. I because of your background in production, what is your thoughts on when you make these videos? Do you need to have a big camera crew? Can you just do it with an iPhone? What is your expert advice on that?
Yeah. So back in the old days, you needed a whole crew. You needed a lot. Today, your iPhone is so powerful. It's worth it if that is your main mode of equipment, to have a newer one, because technology changes quite a bit. But there's three main components: the camera, the audio, and the lighting. That's it. You're already a trainer and you know it. How to do that stuff. You have to learn how to present on camera. That's where I come in. I'm going to offer your audience a free gift that can really help out, some teachings with me. But the audio is really number one. So today they have little tiny I'm using a microphone, but I'm sitting here, and so this is a really decent quality sound and microphone. But they have microphones you just clip on your shirt somewhere, and then you can also connect them to your phone. And so you can be far away from the camera and it still feels as if you're close to a microphone. That's number one. The next thing is learning how to use your camera properly, setting it to the highest resolution, like 4K, putting it on a tripod, and then having some decent light. I've got ring lights here, but if I was performing and working out, I might open up my shades behind me and I'd be out in the middle of my room and I would use natural light. Like, you don't have to have a big lighting setup. That's not important. And there you go. That today is really good production if you do it right.
And let's talk about perfection versus non-perfection. Like, do you need it to be perfect, or do people want to see that you made a mistake? And I don't know.
Newscasters and radio hosts make mistakes all the time. And what's the big thing they don't do, Dory?
Make mistakes.
No, they do. But what don't they do? They don't apologize and they don't draw attention to it.
Gotcha.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just messed up. I'm sorry. Trainers try to be perfect. It's the worst thing you can do. The best thing you could do is acknowledge that you made a mistake and use it as a teachable moment. Or just laugh at yourself and have fun. I know I said jumping jacks, but we're actually doing push-ups. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Have fun with it, but do not. It is so much more about the experience than the technique being perfect. That's really important to remember. If you're a trainer, you get on camera, it is, I don't say it can be, it is nerve-wracking at first until you learn the skills so that you're very comfortable talking to, and here's another hint, one person. the biggest or the first thing that I break a trainer's habit of doing when they come from group X or even one-on-one to the camera is they all go, and everybody, who's ever at home right now listening or in your car, raise your hand if you do this, if you're a trainer. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going, guys? Those are the normal default call outs. And when you're on camera presenting, you're talking to one person, not a group. And most people don't understand that until they're told. But if you want to reach everybody, talk to one person when you're on camera. That is the magic rule.
Wait, that is an amazing magic rule. I don't think anybody has ever said that before. So again, when you're filming yourself, don't be like, hey, everybody.
No. Hey, everybody is the fastest way to make your listeners feel like they're not seen, because they're home by themselves. 99% of at-home workouts are being performed by themselves. Nobody's like, hey, let's have a group workout party to an online trainer. They're doing it at their own time because it's convenient, or because they don't want to go to a gym, or because they love you as a trainer and they live in a different town. And so talk to the one person. And one more tip is, the way you learn how to talk to one person is you create an avatar. And that avatar should be somebody that has moved you. Not that you've like, I helped this person lose 50 pounds and they're, no, somebody who touched you. And then you can very simply take that person's name or even a picture and post it up next to your camera lens. And then remember that you're talking to that person. And here's a lot of trainers go, yeah, but I want to reach everybody. Well, again, the fastest way to talk to everyone is to talk to one person. And there are going to be some people who go, you know what? Mason's not my cup of tea because blah, blah, blah. Great. You literally don't want everybody. You want to find your niche. You want to find the people who really resonate with you and vice versa, because you want diehard fans, not ones that are just dropping in once and then leaving. So it is imperative to learn how to communicate to one person and not be yelling at a group. Imagine you and I are talking to each other, but imagine if I was like, yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking loud and I'm kind of pluralizing our conversation. No, listeners are going, oh, we're dropping in on an intimate conversation between Dory and Mason. And it feels, those are the conversations people like, not ones where you're kind of projecting to a group. They like the ones where they feel like, oh, we're involved in a conversation we couldn't find anywhere else. This is pretty cool.
So can I put you on the spot for a moment?
Yes, do it. Wait a minute. What are you doing?
Give me 1, 2, 3 examples, however many you can pull out. When that video starts, I feel like the first thing we all do, and I will include myself, is, hey, everybody, I'm Dory Nugent, or hey, everybody, thanks for joining me. Give me some examples of how they could, right when the video starts, like how they can start that conversation.
So for one, and this took me a while to figure out, it is so simple. It's crazy. Just get rid of the pronouns, guys and everybody. Just get rid of them. And as soon as you do that, it also changes a little bit of your energy and attitude. You're not as big. It becomes a little more intimate. But putting that name up there, talking to one person, like, I mean, I put your name up here too. So I remembered your name. And if there's any talking points I wanted to help me stay relaxed and on point. But the other great introduction is one with a hook. So I would start, and I would say for a great podcaster, it's almost to start with the story lead. Before I tell you who our guest is today, I got to tell you that I had a visitor last night, and I don't believe in ghosts, but there was a ghost in my room. I'm Dory, and today we've got Mason Bendewald on the show. I'll talk about my ghost later. And so, like, right away, your brain just going, what? She had a ghost visit her? And it could be a silly thing. You turned out that there was the moon was shining and it hit the back of your closet door and there was, it was your robe. It doesn't matter. But the idea is you turn on people's imagination, you get them hooked. And that's a better introduction than just, hey guys, welcome back to the show today. Just the same intro. So a hook is a fun way of doing it, but just talking to one person. I'm so glad. So a welcome. I like to say your name because it's your brand, a welcome, and then a highlight of what's going on today. So I'm Mace Bendewald. I'm so glad you're here today. I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Dory. She's done a million great things. She has her own podcast, and we're going to start by introducing her right now, as opposed to, hey guys, what's up? There's two things wrong there. You're talking to everybody as opposed to me feeling like one person. And then you're also asking a question, which trainers do all the time. Hey, what's up? What's going on? That drives me insane because, again, it makes me feel more separated because I know they're not listening to me. Nobody ever says, oh, well, nobody responds to that question. So leaving it as more of a greeting and a welcome and really thinking through, how would you welcome somebody in to your house for a dinner party? That's how I want my audience to feel. That's how I want my trainers to learn how to work with their group, because you want to come back to a house that you're welcomed into warmly, not yelled at as a group that you're like, it doesn't matter if I'm here or not.
So I'm doing it all wrong.
Well, I don't think you say how's it going.
I don't. That might be the one bonus, but hey, everybody, I've done many times. So I'm going forward.
Almost everybody has.
Going forward, I'm going to work on that and fix that. So,
all right. How it goes.
I will. Hey, my final question to you is, we've talked about trainers, obviously, with videos, but what about companies? Especially a lot of our listeners are independent gym owners or boutique owners. Can they tell a story on video? And then I'm going to just couple that with, what should they include beyond the physical features of their facility?
Well, if you're a gym owner, you have a story behind your gym. No, you didn't open it overnight. There's a lot of thought. There's a story behind why you did it. And I would say that you just had a guest on recently, Debbie O'Connor, who talked about personalities. And I'd say these are very similar, what we're both talking about, and that your personality is part of your story. And when you share that, a brick and mortar gym is just 4 walls and a door with some equipment inside of it. And you're just going to look for the cheapest price point unless you are delivering an experience and a story, a feeling when you show up to Tina and Bob's gym, that have this lifelong passion. Tina had diabetes and the two of them started working together and went to CrossFit and discovered health and fitness and a better way of eating and this and that. There's a story behind it, why they do it, how they do it. And if you make that part of your culture, part of your story, you again are going to win more people in those doors. So video is a powerful marketing tool. So even if it's just your website and there's a little story on the website, hey, I'm Bob, I'm Tina. We want to welcome you to our gym. We're a mom and pop operation. And this is here's our code of conduct, or here's why we got started, or this is why we have our gym. Just that, as opposed to we've got 5 treadmills and 3 of these. And that's not a push-up is a push-up. A sit-up is a sit-up. Nobody needs anybody's help today to go, what am I supposed to do to stay in shape? We like to have people around us. We like community. We like motivation. But the actual tools to do it are rudimentary today. It's like getting on an airplane and they tell you how to buckle a seatbelt. It's kind of silly. We all know how to buckle a seatbelt. We all know how to be fit in theory, eat better, and exercise on a regular basis. Do you really need to be told what exercise to do? There's no magic bullet exercise. It is Are you making me feel good? Are you motivating me? Am I coming back? Do I feel connected? So this becomes part of my lifestyle, not, I got to go to the gym, as opposed to, oh my God, I love hanging out at Bob and Tina's gym. I feel great there. An hour and a half flies by. They've got a great smoothie bar. They play great music. I always get a high five. My personal trainer remembered my birthday. He always makes me laugh. Like that kind of, that's community, that's culture. That is an experience that you can't get at 24-hour fitness, that you can't get at Planet Fitness. So your story is a huge part of that, and everybody listening should work on it and share it as much as they can.
What are your top 3 tips to master in front of the camera?
Eye contact and talk to one person. I'll call that tip 1. So you got to be looking into the lens and you have to talk to one person. Number 1. Number 2, smiling. And it's a skill set that takes practice, but smiling really helps people feel more connected. They're less threatened, and it looks good on camera like that. And then number 3, I would say script out not just the workout. Trainers always spend all this time going like, okay, we're going to do 5 of these, 10 of these, and then we're going to do this, but do the rest of the work. What else can you include in a workout to make it interesting? And we talked about stories. So a story could be easy. It could be as simple as a mixed up coffee order that led to some shenanigans and it was hilarious. That will, again, if you're scripting it out, calm you down, connect with one person, smile on camera, and you have got a winning recipe for a great workout that people will talk to their friends about and show up and do again and again.